external data sources via one of the 100 connectors. At this stage, if you don't quote me on that, but at this stage there are 325 plus connectors. Okay, so that so I'm going to talk a bit about. I was talking about experiences, and Golaknath was great to identify the experience we have around our automate desktop flows. There is a lot of kind of things which I was telling you in repetitive tasks, right? So in one of the scenarios recently, I was talking to a kind of construction company in the Middle East, and what they do is they do a lot of designing in different systems, right? And every time you change the design of a big building, let's say it's a 40 or 50 tower building, there's going to be change. Even if you do a small change in terms of how the door is placed, maybe the number of screws get changed. That has a huge impact on the project cost, right? Overall for the company, for the bidding engine ahead. So there is somebody in the organization who has to repeatedly do what? The job is to repeatedly, non-stop automate this particular process and kind of take the design changes, then generate a new file report of the new design, and then estimate how many new kind of screws, how many new kinds of doorknobs, how many new kinds of window gear you need to change, and feed it into a separate application, which is for the project management or cost management of that thing. And then to a third subsequent DOM, they have to send the dump for the financial dump into something like FNO. Now, using Power Automate Desktop, this entire process is being automated as we speak, right? So this is one of the key use cases they are trying. And somebody, when they estimate, there are human hours involved, and of course there are delays. When you have business processes like that, when you're taking it from one system, then you have dependencies between different people, department. There are issues, right? So between the time a design change happen and you get the new costing and the finances aware, there might be a day's delay, right? And in key kind of competitive scenario as like construction industry is, that kind of day delay might be worth losing $1 million deal. So that is another scenario where you can take Power Automate Desktop from one application to another. It can be FNO, it can be C, and then utilize this. So all they need to do is record it at the start, and thereafter they can just reutilize whatever is being done, right? Another key scenario that I wanted to talk about while I was just disconnected was the third number in this particular deck, which is about connecting to external data sources. So normally when we had to make a connection with anything Microsoft Cloud, technical people or people coming from technical background originally like me would have a lot of work. We will be building APIs, we'll be building jobs, we'll be kind of integrating things together, or we'll be using something like which is called as a staging DB or staging database to move things in and then move things out as per the need. It can be bilateral, it can bidirectional, it can be unidirectional, it can be part of the tables that are to be synchronized, that kind of. Making this used to take time. And today's examples also that we're going to see in the demonstration, I can really tell you this was done by me and my team in 2011 as well, then 2013 as well, and the amount of time this API used to take over a course of time. And we will see the impact of why Power Automate is a real value proposition to everybody, right? And how it makes scaling or maintaining your business process and applications really easy. Now, the last one was automating the desktop-based processes with RPA capability, right? That I think there was enough talk. I already gave an example, and Gulaknath also mentioned about the scenarios that are coming in preview. So there are tons of things that keep coming in preview. There is a raised hand here. Good. So Harsh, you can unmute yourself. Let me know. I'm okay to take it in an interactive way. Gulaknath, is that an error? Mr. Harsh has raised a hand.
No, you can go ahead. I think he forgot to raise down the hand. Actually, I asked one question
Okay.
earlier. Yeah.
No worries. Okay, I got confused. No worries. So yeah, if you want interaction, I'm more than happy to make it interactive because that's what will keep it interesting. I will try to speed down through the slides so that we can. I know everybody's giving their valuable time. You've already waited, so I'll be trying to speed up during the slides a bit. So stop me if the speed becomes too high. So what we talked about the apps and services, right? So 325 plus and counting, right? So there are list and variety of connectors you can use. There are some that I have given examples here. considering that it is not only Microsoft. There is even a Salesforce connector out there. There is a Dataverse connector. Dynamics connectors are there, which are ultimately Dataverse connectors at this stage. Google Drive, Office 365, which is now Microsoft 365, right? So you have connectors to Microsoft services and common apps and services across, right? So it's not only that. What do these connectors help me achieve? Basically, I can take a trigger from different apps and services based on something that happens in an app or service, and based on that, I can take actions into different apps and services. Based on something happens or a mail arrives in my Gmail inbox, I want to create something in Dataverse table, right? So there is one provider, Google, which is one of the major providers, and then another is Microsoft. So the trigger here is kind of the mail arriving in Gmail. And based on that information, I want to capture that information, and then I want to take this information and I want to do something in my Dataverse table. A simple example. There can be reverse way out also, which is true. So that's the kind of data connector that Microsoft is investing into. If I've seen averagely how many generate every month, double digit the least, right? Every month when we see an update, there are double digit kind of connectors increasing here, right? So when I last did something around Power Automate, this slide had 275, which was almost 4 to 6 months back. So you can average it out, like how many connectors are getting built. We'll talk a bit about types of flows, and I'm going to be brief here. I'm going to focus more around, I think we talked about desktop flows and business process flows in the examples I took earlier, but I'm going to talk a bit about cloud flows because we are going to utilize some of them, right, when we talk about integration scenarios. So the number one type in cloud flow is automated flow. When you pick an automated flow, you're basically mentioning, okay, here is some kind of automated thing that I want to do. Let's say as soon as a entity table row is created, I want to do certain thing, right? As soon as I create a row in the table in Dataverse, I want to trigger something and do set of action. That is the kind of flow you will use type as automated flow. Instant flow is something, no, I don't have any trigger. I want to run as and when I need on the fly. That is the type which is called the instant flow. And it is also famous for the flow button scenario, right? So what do I mean by flow button? Every time, uh, okay, something happened here. Golaknath, am I having the screen share on? Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a video because that's why I got confused. Somebody's video cam got turned on.
Yeah, Ragesh, can you turn off your video? Yep.
All right. Sorry. So coming back, we were using instant flow. This is also famous for the flow button, right? So let's say you have a flow button and you want to trigger something, right? That is the type you can go for as an instant flow. Scheduled, as the name suggests, on a regular basis, on a schedule from minimum of a 1 minute to maximum of whatever you want to pick. There is a limitation, of course, to the maximum as well. But let's say from minimum 1 minute schedule to a day, to a week, or to whatever schedule you want to run certain thing on consistent basis. That's the kind of flow you can use in the scheduled flow. Any questions so far? If I want to briefly touch upon on desktop flows, then desktop flows is about what Kulaknath mentioned. It is basically for robotic process automation. I'm doing something daily on my machine. I want to record the steps, and then I want to let flow take over, right? So desktop flows are available in attended as well as unattended capacity, depending on the licensing you take. Of course, everything has licensing implications, which I'm not getting into. The goal is to understand the functionality and see the business value. Business process flows, as I took an example, which was of the recruitment, right? So there are stages in recruitment, there are stages in sales, there are stages in site inspection if you're doing it. No matter which industry you enter, there are business processes and stages, and we need to do certain things in consistent way. That's what is possible through a business process flow. Why should one use Power Automate? What is the number one kind of reason for companies to use Power Automate? Boost productivity. Yes, you build a time-saving workflow, right? Basically, you're building something which is saving your time. You can use built-in AI capabilities, and if time permits, I'm really going to get into at least one of the AI scenarios, at least, right? What is possible and what is not. User adoption, you can fully leverage your investments in the technology. Yes, if users are, because this is something which is low code. So if users pick it, then you're really saving on the automation efforts of the company. Easy sync, But yeah, it is pretty easy to use different connectors and sync easily. Easy mobility. You can automate your business process at ease. There is a complete mobility support, right, for most of the things. Sorry. Demo time, right? So as I said, I wanted to rush through the slides so that we can utilize time for the demo, right? So there are three key scenarios, and I would like to first take us through the particular scenarios and then only leverage what we are trying to go through. One is controlling SharePoint and D365 CE security using Power Automate, and the scenarios are to do with the kinds of things we typically do in our day-to-day things, which most of us who have been around with Dynamics, SharePoint, or Microsoft Cloud for a while know there are challenges of automating this kind of things, integrations, and how Power Automate can come to the rescue there as well. Moving a note attachment from D365 CE to SharePoint using Power Automate. So there is a concept of a note attachment within Dynamics 365 customer engagement apps where people key in the notes and even often attach their documents, right? Putting it in, storing it in Dynamics is a not a cost-effective affair, right? It is costly to store documents inside Dynamics, and it is cheaper to do it in SharePoint. There is a built-in integration available between Dynamics 365 and SharePoint, which we are going to leverage as a prerequisite. I will take you through like what that is about in terms of structure, but I'm not going to get into the configuration between SharePoint and Dynamics. That is pre-assumed that there is a integration available between the two applications. Then how Power Automate can come in and fit in. Then the other one is list task list directly from D365 CE to Teams. These are some examples which I have instantly available. But there is a bigger list. There are AI powered integration scenarios that are available which we want to explore. There is a metadata attribute sync also if time permits. It totally depends on the amount of time we got and your interest, right? If you're really interested, we'll go forward. Some of this you can re-explore, and I'm currently pursuing a series on this also on my YouTube channel called as Power Integrate or Power Integration rather, and I'm doing volume by volume, week after week, right? So you can even look at that. Of course, Golaknath or Prashant will be able to share the link of this recording as well, right? So feel free to let me know in case of any queries in between, right? So just give me Golaknath or Prashant, I'll just take a quick minute to transfer my screen over. Yeah.
Sure.
So let me know if my screen is visible now.
Yes, yes.
All right. So I have gone in and what I have done here is we are talking about the note attachment scenario first to start with. So that's a traditional problem with where people wanted to move their notes attachment or their activity attachments also over the course of last 12 years of implementing it with Dynamics. People want to take it to SharePoint or people want to take it in the cloud. They wanted to take it into Azure Blob Storage or somewhere else and still use the timeline to good effect because timeline is a great area on each record type to try and achieve the end result. And what is the end result? The end result is to move my storage into some place else. But at the same time, I'm also trying to do another thing. I'm trying to link the record and still use the effect of a timeline because timeline is a central place on most of the D365C record where we wish to get an idea of what are the activities and notes related to this record, right? So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to related and show you inside document tab, and this is integrated, right? That's the location also I'm going to open up and show you that in this particular location on the SharePoint side, if you see, I don't have any document at the moment. All right. So that is kind of the structure and the kind of out of box structure I'm using. I'm going to explain that also a bit. I'm using the account based structure. So you can choose optionally to use the account based document structure in SharePoint integration with Dynamics 365C, or you can also choose to do contact. In my use case, I'm taking the example of account. You can very well leverage contact based as well. What traditionally happens or what traditionally happens is whenever you create some accounts, I have created an account called as Dynamicity. So there is an account folder under my document library, under which there is a folder for Dynamicity appended with this GUID or this some appended string, right? Let's say this is appended string for now. Then there is the name of the table which we are concerned with, which is opportunity. And then there is a text for the title of the opportunity, note related, and then underscore, there is some string again, right? So traditionally what Dynamics follows is under the account grouping, there is a folder for each account. And then under the different groupings for different entities related to account, let's say opportunity, cases, leads, etc. There will be different kinds of folder. And under this different table folder for opportunity, for sorry, I got a Teams call. I was just reverting it out. So under the account structure, there is a structure for basically your table structure. There is a structure for your underneath record. Now, if it was lead, it will become lead. If it was case, it will become case folder. And under that, you will have something like this structure. I hope the structure is clear, right? That is the structure we are leveraging to do this integration. Now, there is nothing here that is the link document library. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take a note and let me just click on plus note and just say test. And let me just find some good note for myself here from list of the notes I have. Sorry, I'm taking it out because I have tons of customer content as well on my screen. Okay, so yeah, that is okay. So this is the thumbnail from one of the videos that I did. So I just took pv4.png and then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to say add note. Now we need to wait a while because flow is asynchronous in nature, right? So it will take some time to kick in and run, and then we'll see what is the net effect here. And normally when I do it with this kind of scenario or a recorded medium, I do have the leverage to let it be like very crystal clear, connect the two videos together. But here we might have to refresh it. But yeah, it marked. So here I have put in SharePoint updated and you see pv4.png. If I go to the documents tab now, you see the same pv4.png put up over here, right? Now, if I even let's confirm this from this, here is pv4.png. And what is happening on the note over there in the summary? There is a link. So there is hyperlink of the same thing, which will directly go to the SharePoint library. I can very well download it from here, right? So that kind of hyperlink is also generated. Now, what is the good effect of this scenario is, okay, all my notes are still being utilized, whatever user are putting in, they're being put up over there. And at the same time, I'm able to take the link, put it into the related document folder, and then I'm able to come back and put a hyperlink on the note again, right? So for me as a user, that is really key to be able to leverage this kind of a thing. Now, how do we need to build something like this with development time? Well, with some people who are really experienced around Dynamics 365 and SharePoint, it can still take a good amount of time, right? That's a lot of investment and then maintaining and changing it around. Now let's just see, give me a quick second. I'll just show you the flow for this one. Any queries on the scenario? Let me be aware.
No queries so far in the chat window.
Okay. So then I'm going to share the screen and we're going to look at this particular scenario again. Okay. So is the flow screen visible? I can zoom it in for everybody's advantage of it. Is this clearly visible now in terms of zoom?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's visible.
Right. So now what we are trying to do is we are trying to automatically move the a note attachment to SharePoint. So what I have done, I have taken on create of note organization wide, right? And since I only used opportunity, I have not done various condition filters on this that check for type, check for kind of owner and stuff. I'm just assuming simple opportunity use case for now. So every time a note is created, I'm just assuming it is linked to a particular opportunity. I'm not doing the filtering, but you can very well build that. Now, then we are trying to do a get of opportunity record. So basically on regarding value. In reality, if you want to do it across different kinds of, if you want to build and do it across different kinds of entities, you need to check the type as well. But however, I have not gone in and done that, but you can check it with regarding type. So here I'm assuming, okay, there is only opportunity note link. That's the assumption. This condition we will get to, I have not skipped it. So once you are on opportunities and there is a regarding value over there, that's to get the opportunity record details, and we'll see why we need it late, a two-step down. Then based on that opportunity, I'm trying to get the account details. You remember I told that I'm trying to utilize the account-based structure. So that same logic is applying over here. I'm trying to utilize the account-based structure. That's why I'm taking the opportunity details and I'm taking the account details. Now this variable is really the key to one of the problems, and then there is another problem below, which I'm going to tell you, which are workarounds that are being done. Now, folder location. So all the connectors you have in SharePoint will predominantly need a folder location under the document library. And if you cannot generate that relative URL, that is not gonna work out, right? So here, the folder location is normally under account-based structure. So it is slash account slash, there is some replace I'm doing here. So let me just pick that expression column and expand it over for you, that what I'm doing here. Basically from the get account details step, which is this one, I'm trying to get the name, right? Changing all the things like dot into a hyphen, right? That has to be really done, right? You need to convert this kinds of things. It will not be how SharePoint generates. Normally when we have GUID in Dynamics, there is a ABCD hyphen something, right? So you need to really replace all those kinds of things and then append it. So this is basically the account name appended with the account ID, right? That is the GUID of your record. That's how Dynamics does the structure. If I go back here to the note related, if you see this dynamicity underscore, this is basically the GUID of the account record or account ID. Then the next thing is slash opportunity. So that's what we are trying to generate. Is that the one? Yeah, this is the one, slash opportunity. Then I'm taking topic, because in opportunity it picks topic. So from get opportunity step, we took the topic of this particular opportunity. Then we have done a replace. In case of child nodes, we have to convert it into to upper, and you can see object ID underscore value. This is nothing but the opportunity ID. So when this particular run will be done, this will be my folder location, this third step. That's why we took opportunity and account details basically, right? Because we are following that structure. Then create a file. So the site address is something which is being configured as a test in my tenant, and this is common between your Dynamics 365 and SharePoint integration. You always have the site collection address, under which you have put the folder location. Now where did this file name come in from? This file name has basically come from the notes. So if I click this in, whenever you will try to filter for notes and try to search in file name, you will get one, right? When notes are created, you get the file name over here. Next step is another key area to understand. To convert the body of a note, so you always use the document, let me just scroll a bit here, document body of the note, and then you need to use base 64 to binary. This is also very important, right? To give the file content to this site. So base 64 to binary is basically expression, and then we are giving in the body, the file body of this particular note. That is my file created, right? When the file get created, what we are trying to do, my original idea was to just update the same node, but that's not going to happen, right? If you try it out yourself, that's going to fail, right? That's going to give you some flow error. So then what I ended up doing, add a new row. So I added a new node, right, under this, with the title, with the description of the original node, and then I said SharePoint updated, and then put the path in a href along with the file name. That's why we see the file name in the hyperlink over there. Thereafter, I tried to delete the node directly. Now this is another trick. If you in the same event where I created the node, I tried to delete it, that is also not happening. You will get error there as well. There what I ended up doing, I did a list rows. I said annotation ID. So the logical name of node entity is annotation. I said annotation ID equal node. So this is only ever going to return me one node because we are appending a GUID, right? This is the GUID or the primary key for the particular node. Then I went and did apply to each, looped around and just deleted this, right? This workaround still worked, okay? But if you go and directly do it, it doesn't work. Now, the challenge here is most of you who have used flows is when we trigger this and create a new node, I ended up entering into an infinite loop because every node that is created will end up creating another node. That is where this condition comes handy. Okay. So if description contains SharePoint, which I marked, and you can very well use some kind of tagging once SharePoint appended it becomes. If description contains SharePoint, I understand that this is coming from the node I created. I'm terminating the second flow run and stopping that infinite run. Because every time you create a node, there's another node being created, one being deleted, then re-trigger flow run for another node that was created. So that one gets terminated here, right? Now this is one quick workaround which was possible in a matter of researching for a few days. If you go and end up building this, it's going to take some time, and some of you are from technical background, right? You can very well understand integrating and creating something like this can take time and maintenance, right? Now what we can very well do with this is If tomorrow the business changes, we can very well go and make the necessary change as and when required. Okay. Any queries on this particular demo scenario so far, Gulaknath or anybody?
No queries so far.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. So let me just go back and show another thing. There is another convention which I wanted to talk about. When you are building bigger integrations, right? I have kept both kind of examples, and it is for you to see, right? I have renamed some of the steps and I have not renamed some of them. So I see a habit between people, and this is kind of a best practice for integrations. It's not important. It's not necessary in a low code environment that you are only going to come back and make a change. So for somebody who has written this five first steps, right? When nodes are created, it'll get account details. It is pretty clear to me what's happening. But beneath that, the out of box ones have been kept. Are you able to understand what's going on inside? No, right? So it makes sense, just like what we used to use in classical workflows as well in Dynamics, or if you would build something in SharePoint, to keep the comments and step names relevant, right? So it is as simple as putting in a habit of, okay, renaming it and saying, oh, this is create the SharePoint file for based on node, right? So at least gives me a better idea about what's going on, right? So that's a recommendation in terms of integration based flows. Why? Because this is a very simple example. Some more complex ones can traverse even more number of steps and conditions, right? Now, let me take you through another example where this is the same document. I will just, one second. Yes, this is the document, and then I'm trying to find the note related one. And where is that thing? Here, open location, and I will again open the default site over here, and you can see there's only one member here. This is to the another scenario now which we are going to talk about is syncing the security between the Dynamics 365 record and SharePoint. That is also a common problem, and there are even third-party add-ons built on for this particular problem. As you can see, I'm the only one over here, right? There's nobody else that is there. Now, there is another flow that is being configured in this particular scenario, which is going to help us, but this is of, okay, I'm going to transfer the ownership, and since I'm transferring ownership, I want the underneath folder structure where I'm storing my SharePoint documents on the opportunity to also automatically move, right? To give access to the new owner. So that's what this particular scenario we are going to try out, right? So let me just go on this particular opportunity, and Vivek is my colleague in this particular tenant, right, or company. So I'm just going to move the owner from myself to Vivek, and then we have to wait. This one takes a bit of time I have seen to run. So there might be a bit of wait, but we will see the net effect overall. Okay, so let me just go and do one more thing. This record is now transferred from me. Is my voice audible, Gulakna? I'm getting some background noise.
Yes, yes, audible.
Okay, so this one is now this document location is linked over. I'm going to again open this location and see what happened to the document site now. Just give me a second. Probably this is a caching thing. I have one more projected over here. So here, as you can see, Vivek is added up as a member, right? Now this we can control as well using Power Automate again. So I'm going to go into one of the previous runs. I am seeing time, and I want to be a bit quick around this one. So if I go to my flows and go to the grant access one and do edit, what's happening here is whenever an opportunity is created or updated, right? And if you talk about the column filter for update, it is only owner ID. So I will ever do it when the owner ID is getting updated. We are again getting the account details since we are following the account-based structure. This is kind of a linkage to the last one, right? So I'm not going into more details of why we are getting into account details. Getting the user details, we need access to the user based on the ownership transfer. So I've taken the owner value from opportunity and put it over here in the user. because you will need email. We need email of the user which we are trying to get access to. Again, we are initializing the variable for folder location in the same way as we did in the last use case. Get the folder metadata. So getting folder metadata is pretty important. Based on the site address and file identifier which we created in the last step, you can get the folder metadata. That is what is required to pass the ID to this particular action, which is grant access to an item or a folder, where you can see that the list or library name is the account one, the item ID is picked from the last step, primary email of the user, and a given can edit. You also have the option to just say can view. So you can control in two fashions basically. You optionally can also say plain text formatted message and notify the recipients as well if you want to do that. I've not gone in and done that in this particular example. Now, this is a very simple way of doing it through Power Automate. Now, some of us have again been around for some amount of time with Dynamics Power Platform and SharePoint. If we had to build this, I have built it in 2011 and 2013. It does take some amount of getting because the way the SharePoint security was called, there used to be client DLL libraries, then there used to be some messages, then sometimes we want to host it as an API and then do it. And here you can see the number of steps we have done. In a 6-step process, we can go and achieve the same kind of need. Just similar to Grant, you can remove access as well, right? So you can build, this is just an example. You can always go and build a similar structure. I just have one more example to take. Yeah, if you are interested, I'll be able to take through some more example around AI models. But the example that I want to take is for the Teams notification part first. Any queries so far, Golaknath, on chat? I have not been monitoring that.
No queries so far. I
Okay,
think we
fine.
can go ahead with 15 minutes extra also because we started 5 minutes late. So yeah, you can go ahead with the demo as well.
Sure, not a problem. So I will go ahead and just, I will first start with the run because this is a recurrent scenario and I will share it with you. It's a common ask nowadays because Teams is kind of becoming central to what we do, right, every day. And just as you can see, this particular community user group meeting or session is also being conducted through Teams at this stage. So I don't want to open up Dynamics on a particular day. Let's say I want to see my list of tasks just in Team directly, right? I don't want to enter in. Now, when it comes to seeing record by record level, we can always go and put our adaptive card, we can put in message and stuff like that. But what if I want to see a list of things, right, from my data vars? So here is where what is built. This is a recurrence kind of or a scheduled flow that I have planned to run every 2 hours, right? And what it does, I basically initialize the, no, sorry, I opened the wrong flow. Give me a second. Oof. Anyways, I think by mistake I have knocked that one off. I'll just take this one. This is also a good example, to be honest. I'll just tell you what scenario I use this one for. So there are some members in my team which I want to non-stop give notifications for updating. So there are teams for each member in my organization. I'm just going to take a cue here and change the last example because I think by mistake when I was checking in the morning, I have knocked off the other flow. And I don't think we are, in interest of time, I'm going to restore the solution and stuff. I'm going to take another example, apologies for that. So this is a recurrent flow, and what this one is used for, every 2 hours between more, since we went remote and at an organization size that we are less than 25 members, it becomes difficult for few management people to non-stop check and get the update and notify the customer, right? So what I ended up doing here is there are teams for each member in my particular company, right? So basically, let's say if Vivek is in the company, there is a team for Vivek's task update and so forth, right? Now, what we ended up doing here is that there is a recurrence that is built for every 2 hours. What is going to happen every 2 hours? I'm initializing and getting the hour part for the current time. Then I'm putting in a condition that this has to be between standard working hours of our company, and this is because of UTC. That's why you see 4 and 14 in a standard 24-hour format. And then I'm posting a message to different members in the team. So let's say Anjali is there. Please update your work status. Thanks. The end result of this scheduled flow is it runs every 2 hours. That means 4 times in a day, it will make the certain members in the team remember, okay, please update the status for us, right? Because we have to update it. Sometimes customers are checking it on the remote side, right? And we work across the globe. So it becomes difficult to always get in touch with people. So here is an example of a simple recurrence flow, which we have integrated with Teams. We are given in some logic and notifying different members in the teams that, okay, please notify. And then there is another flow if somebody has not responded. So there is one to track the replies as well. If I don't get a revert back within two kinds of reminders, I get a notification as well as a mail, right? So it makes my job easier to manage a higher, my increasing size team. Somebody speaking, is there a query or what? So that is another example of the recurrence flow. And then I was talking to you about there are some AI model based flows. So I'm going to take a look at one, note sentiment. In this particular flow, we're trying to analyze positive or negative sentiment. So based on the text of the note, Microsoft has also given us the AI model capabilities and integration, where traditionally we had to build a kind of external library, integrate it and build a big middleware kind of layer, and then only do the particular judgment, whether this is a positive sentiment, whether this is a negative sentiment, and if I wanted to make choices based on that. So here what I've done is on create of notes in the organization, I'm going and converting this from HTML to text. Currently, if you know, the notes have the ability to have kind of editor in there. That's why it comes and generates a kind of HTML. To pass it to the AI model, we need to convert that HTML into a kind of text. And that is what this step is doing, HTML to text, which is a preview at this moment. This I'm passing to analyze positive or negative sentiment in text. And this is one of the AI model connectors. So how did I get it? If you say add an action, you pick AI builder, you will get tons of connectors over there, right? So this is the one which is related to text processing models, analyze positive or negative sentiment. Currently, there is support for up to 14 to 15 languages, which you can see, including Hindi. So I have picked English here, and then we get a text which is passed from this step. I'm passing it on over here, and then I'm posting a message. What is the note description and what is the note sentiment? So it will give me three kinds of sentiments. Is it positive? Is it negative? Or is it just neutral, right? So all these three are kind of possible, and I'm posting it to Teams in my examples that I built for my YouTube channel. But you can very well take this and decide, okay, incoming mail is coming in, or scenarios like that get light up. Okay, based on the sentiment, what I need to do to the priority if it was a case. Is it like a query or is it like something else, right? Depending on that, you can set your different kinds of case automations, which traditionally we couldn't build. So another example of the power that Microsoft is investing in and helping us achieve a lot more in a shorter period of time. I have left certain time, like, okay, we are extending because there was slight delay at the start. So if you have any questions and answers, I'm more than happy to take it up. You can put it on the chat window or let me be aware. Otherwise, I hope this integration scenarios were of use to you. Yeah, over to you, Gulab.
Yeah. Hi, Deepesh, and thank you so much for all the integration scenarios so far we came across. And if any queries, actually now anyone has can open up the mic. I think we have another 5 minutes maximum because we started 5-10 minutes delay. So yeah, if any queries, you can ask. Open your mic. You can ask for 5 minutes, and then we'll wind up for the session. And yes, thank you so much, Dipesh, for the great session and all the session. And sorry for inconvenience to Dipesh and to everyone who has joined the session, because initially we faced some issue in the Microsoft Community tenant. So that's why there are some inconvenience are there. But anyways, recording is already there, though it is a bit late. But initial 5-10 minutes you may miss the recording. But the thing is that still more the demo portion is already there, so you can go and get from the community UZ link. Actually, we will post hopefully another 1 or 2 days. So this is what from my end so far. Any queries? I cannot see any. Okay, I can see one query from Anand. Do we integrate CRM lead and Salesforce lead entity to pass 40K records and get an update through Power Automate?
Okay, so the this is a question which is both linked to technical architecture as well as licensing. So I'll take it in two parts. Licensing point of view, every flow run is a cost, right? You have on different kinds of plan. You have per user plans and then you have per flow plan as well, right? At a high level, if I talk to you from licensing perspective, and Golaknath can also very well throw a lot of light on licensing. I'm not the best out there in just terms of licensing. He himself has been a licensing expert. So 40K runs are going to cost you if it is not licensed properly. That's my honest feedback. You have to clearly market, and I don't know how many 40K runs you need to do. If you're talking about two different applications and lead synchronization, is it like annual? Is it like monthly? Typically on an enterprise plan with Dynamics 365, you get up to 10 to 20,000 runs, right? Or you can have a better deal out. After your runs are gone, you are gonna either stop your flows or you're gonna get a great kind of per run kind of charges, right? So if you have the amount of capacity in terms of licensing, yes, it is definitely possible to synchronize and update everything. I can tell you the scenario. In one of the customers, we are doing 10,000 syncs per month between not Salesforce, between the cases between ServiceNow and Dynamics, right? Because the customer is pre-packaged using some other application for one part of their business. Yeah, as long as it is within 10,000 runs, they are okay. As the time comes and their size keeps growing, that has to be estimated, right? Both the connectors are available, what you mentioned, right? No, I have not really used the Salesforce connectors, but there are Salesforce connectors also out there which can be leveraged. Other things is if your load is higher than that, there are other possibilities, like you can always go for more. This is low code, but you can go for more code prone approach, which has been traditional, but you can utilize the power of Azure, right? That is possible. I hope that was in the direction, and yeah.
Sorry, I missed the last solution. What was that? Power Azure, the another
No.
solution.
So if you really want to scale it and your this count is more on a consistent basis and licensing for Power Platform might not suit, there is still Azure Power which you can leverage from the Microsoft Cloud, right? So you can build service jobs then if your load size is going to increase over a period of time. Okay. This is a good one for lighter loads, but I've seen people using it for a lot heavier loads at this stage, right? But my recommendation is to look at licensing first. If you talk technical capability, it is capable of building this. But flow runs asynchronously, so one after the other, it's going to take a bit of time to run.
Yeah, I mean, a lot many times in integration, there will be scenarios that it might run more than 10,000 times. So, yeah, your suggestion is to to use Azure functions or something like
How
that.
many?
And
How much frequency? So when I talked about 10 to 20,000 runs roughly, that is on an annual basis. Sorry, on a monthly basis per user. That's a kind of example of one plan that is frequently used. There are other plans and offerings. So you should first look at from your customer or Microsoft perspective what licensing will suit you based on the number of transactions. If that is just, then you can very well leverage the low code way, right? And you can estimate. You can do a run for 500 to 1,000 rows, and you'll get an idea of how long it will take for 10,000, 20,000, right? You can roughly get an estimate. If both things suit, you can go for Power Platform and automation using Power Automate. There is also a concept of data flows within Power Automate, which you should explore. And if all this doesn't suit, you always have Azure-based service jobs that you can create between the application. That is full development, though. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, attempt is to avoid this writing code from scratch. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I think data flow is what you're mentioning. I'll have a look into that. Because,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. All right.
thanks.
Thank you. So I hope the session was of use to you. Thank you, Golaknath and Prashant, for inviting me over. And thank you, everybody, for attending with glitches that we had. Sometimes demo and tenant gods are not with us. Over to you, Golaknath, unless there are other queries. And thanks for your time on this Saturday.
Yeah,
morning or evening
thank,
or afternoon, wherever you are attending from.
yeah. Thank you, Dipesh. And I think it is eight
I have
thirty in the morning. Yeah. Sorry, anyone has any
I have one
queries?
question. Yes, yes. Can we connect offline? Means suppose one SQL server is on a desktop that is not online, on offline database. So through Power Automate, can we connect some offline database
Yeah,
or
you should.
offline application?
Yeah, you should explore on-premise gateways. So at this stage, there is a concept of on-premise gateway which can be installed and set up in your offline server. Of course, there need to be some kind of connectivity and ports and other things you need to configure. That gateway then can help you connect your SQL into Power Automate. That is possible. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. And one more question.
Hmm.
Like apart from CRM users who had got CRM user license,
Hmm.
any other type of user can execute Power Automate? Like,
M365 plans also have, there are a lot of bundles. So there are M365 users also which can get the licensing. FNO users will also get some number of runs. When you package and take different plans, right? For example, in CRM, if I take an enterprise plan at this stage, and this is July, so I'm not going to be very public about licensing. There might be changes which I have not yet read, but it used to be 20,000 runs when I last checked, right? So I will get 20,000 runs on an enterprise CE plan normally.